Hello everybody, it is Emery48 here and welcome back to another Food Friday. Today we are back with another reaction, and to honor the release of Andor, we're going to be reacting to one of Binging with Babish's videos where he makes the bone broth from the Mandalorian. It's not obviously from Andor because Andor only just came out a couple days ago, so he has yet to make a video on Andor. I don't know if he will because I don't know what food is in the show. So I hope you enjoy.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Binging with Babish, where this week we're taking a look at the bone broth from the Mandalorian, for which we're gonna need some bones. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been able to find out much more on what a gringer is outside of the Star Wars Wikipedia, so we're just gonna make a nice, sippable bone.
Wikipedia is a great site. That is what I use for my timelines for the entire Sunday series. I use a Wikipedia timeline for Legends and Canon, separate one for each. It's a great site for Star Wars fans, new ones, and veterans. Has a lot of info. Also, it's really good to see an episode with Babish because he has been taking steps back on the channel. Still enjoy the other videos, but it's definitely good to see him in videos.
Bone broth from beef bones. And speaking of things that are nice and sippable, today's sponsor is Trade Coffee, a personalized coffee.
All right, well, while he is doing his sponsorship, I'll do a little sponsorship for myself. Go down in the description. Go down and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, like this video. I think it's like 85% of people are not subscribed, so let's boost that number up.
For now, we've got a bone to pick, so to speak. You don't have to do this, but I personally like to clean all the marrow out of the bones that I can. I find that it gives the broth kind of an off metallic taste, but no matter what you do with your marrow, we're going to arrange the bones on racks set in rim baking sheets, drizzle with a little bit of oil to assist in browning, and roast these guys at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes to 1 hour until they're deeply brown and have given up much of their fat. This is also both going to darken the color of the broth and deepen its flavor. All in all, I've got about 10 pounds of bones here for 2 batches of broth. We want about a pound of bones per quart of water. And in addition
homemade
to
bone broth sounds like it would just be really
some
good.
Aromatic vegetables. All the usual stock suspects will suffice, but I'm also going to add a leek, which have notoriously dirty interiors, so I'm going to rinse this out thoroughly every single layer, chop off the bits at the end so they will more easily fit in the pot, and that's pretty much it. The only other thing you're going to need is, of course, a big ol' stock pot. The bigger and narrower, the better. You're going to want to make a big batch of this stuff, and you're going to want it to evaporate as little as possible. So I'm just dropping in all of our aromatic no more air chopping stuff today, but I'm also going to drop in a halved head of garlic, a handful of black peppercorns, a couple dried or preferably fresh bay leaves, and of course our quote-unquote gringer bones, as many as can comfortably fit in the pot. By the way, make sure you're using high quality bones from a butcher you trust, or at least from a gringer that you've taken down yourself. So the next step, as you might imagine, is to cover these bones with water and commence to cooking. The one essential ingredient we must add is apple cider vinegar, 2 tablespoons worth, which is going to act as a solvent to pull calcium and other delicious nutritious minerals out of our bones.
Feels like just 2 tablespoons wouldn't do much with that much water, but interesting that it is an important step.
And now it's time to bring this mixture to and keep it at a bare simmer. As the old French proverb goes, to make a good soup, the pot must only simmer or smile. Not really sure what that means, but during the first hour of cooking, we're going to skim off any scum that floats to the top of the broth, which isn't scum at all. It's just denatured proteins, which are harmless and flavorless, but they can make the broth go cloudy.
Rebel
now for the
scum.
easiest / hardest part of making bone broth, letting it simmer for 24 to 48 hours. Don't want to tend to a bubbling cauldron for 2 days? Well, if you have a pressure cooker, you're in luck. We're gonna add all the same ingredients to the pot, but due to its higher heat and shorter cooking time, we're gonna need some help getting as much collagen and gelatin into our broth so it gelled.
I feel like I wouldn't trust leaving it simmering while I'm sleeping. Like, I feel like I need to have somebody else awake to make sure that it doesn't mess up. I don't know how it could mess up, other than possibly burning down my kitchen. But I don't think I'd trust it while I'm asleep.
So our secret weapon is going to be chicken feet, which are basically just pure fat and connective tissue. We're just going to trim the claws off 5 or 6 chicken feet, add them to the pot, and be sure to hang on to those chicken claws because they're excellent for freaking out your girlfriend.
Ew! Oh, stop!
This is the thumb right here.
The sound is...
With this? Hey, look, I can make it wave.
That's gross. It was fine until the waving.
It's some good, clean fun. Anywho, we are likewise filling our pressure cooker pot to its max capacity, adding a wee bit of apple cider vinegar, shutting down and firing up to high pressure for 60 minutes, or as many as 4 hours if you really want to make some liquid beef. Once that's done, you ideally want to let the pressure release naturally, but I'm a little short on time. Only difference that's going to make is that my broth is going to be a little bit more cloudy. We are then going to fish out the solids for easier straining and then strain, preferably through a cheesecloth, but at least a fine mesh strainer, before portioning, rapidly chilling in an ice bath, and refrigerating. And there you have it, the quickest and easiest bone broth that is currently technologically possible. But will it gel? That is the question. We will find out later because we've still got our stovetop broth to finish up. The first thing we've got to do is defat the broth. So I'm just going to skim the very thick layer of fat that's formed in the top of the broth. And now it's time to see if we did our job right. I'm going to grab a small sample of the broth and refrigerate it for 1 hour, after which time, drumroll please, it should have completely jellified. This is a very good thing. It means that we've extracted a ton of gelatin from the beef bones. This, along with the collagen and all the dissolved connective tissue, is not only nutritious and good for you, it adds a ton of flavor and body and unctuous mouthfeel to soups, stews, and sauces. But in its simplest form, bone broth is served on its lonesome. If you want a very nice, clean broth with no particulate, you can optionally filter it through cheese.
Having a nice mug of just broth, so good. Nice winter day. That, maybe a little later, have some hot chocolate. Good day.
Cheesecloth, or even a coffee filter. And especially this time of year, it makes an excellent meal replacement, on-the-go breakfast, or even late afternoon energy booster. And with nothing but a little bit of salt for flavor, it's not only very tasty, it's very good for you. It's high in protein, calcium, vitamins, nutrients, healthy fats, amino acids, and supposedly it's very good for your skin, your joints, and your gut health. But what do you say we zhuzh it up a little? And this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to make some savory whipped cream. I've got 1 cup of heavy cream here, to which I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of fresh chopped dill, and a couple generous pinches of kosher salt, tiny whisk until homogeneous, and then whip using your favorite method. I'm going with a CO2 dispenser. All you gotta do with this guy is add your CO2 cartridge and shake a couple times to adjust the whipped cream's consistency. And yes, this beverage got some mixed reactions on Instagram, and I'll admit, looking at it, I was pretty skeptical myself. It's like a Wiley Dufresne trick savory version of hot apple cider, but after just 1 brave sip, my entire world was turned upside down. This is really, truly, actually delicious.
Seems kind of odd with the whipped cream.
Reaction. This is genuinely good. Holy shit.
But bone broth,
I mean it, guys, it's
would
good. But
be
bone
good.
broth, like any broth, has myriad culinary applications. My favorite of which is probably the Italian classic Tortellini and Broto. I'm gonna start with a pat of butter in the bottom of my serving bowl, lightly season my nice hot broth, pour out a little sample to taste to make sure that it's seasoned correctly. Then I'm gonna bring out my freshly cooked al dente 4 cheese tortellini, dump them right into the bowl, top with the broth, and you could stop there. But some lovely toppings for this dish include a little bit of freshly grated nutmeg, freshly grated Parmesan, lemon zest, fried garlic chips, finely minced chives, any number of savory, soupy toppings. And this has got to be one of my absolute favorite dishes of all time. And with rich, homemade, unctuous bone broth, I mean, that's no moon. It's a space station. I know that quote doesn't really work here, but whatever. Now, in the cantina on the forest planet of Sorgan, they were serving what looked like udon noodles, which are also going to play real nice with our bone broth, especially if we top it with things like some spicy chili oil, maybe a little drizzle of sesame oil, and some chopped green onions that I forgot to buy. This also is a delicious application of our bone broth, and it will obviously work wonders in any soup, stew, or sauce you can dream up, but if you want to go 1 step further, we can turn our bone broth into Demi-Glass, aka the secret ingredient that makes food in restaurants taste so good. We're going to start with maybe 2 quarts of bone broth that we're going to place in our widest stock pot. I say wide this time because we want to encourage evaporation. We're also going to add 2 or 3 tablespoons of tomato paste and 1 cup of dry red wine. We're then going to bring this guy up to a simmer and let him reduce by as much as 75% until all that remains is an impossibly rich, thick, syrupy sauce. Now, Demi-Glass is traditionally made with veal bones, but trust me, your bone broth is going to work just fine in a pinch. Once it is thick enough to coat the back of a spork, it's time to divvy it up and store it for current and future applications.
Specifically the
Set it
spork
aside,
as
let
well.
it cool off a bit, and then divide it into portions. You could just pour it into a bread pan and let it solidify in the fridge and then cut it up into pieces, but I like using a cupcake tin because then you end up with these cute cute little pucks of pure unabashed flavor. You can then wrap these in plastic wrap and tin foil or vacuum seal them and keep them in the freezer for up to 6 months where they lie in wait, ready to add incredible flavor and richness to any number of savory dishes, maybe the most transformative of which is the pan sauce. I'm just gonna sear a couple steaks and deglaze the pan with 1 portion and a little red wine for a rich, sticky, unctuous pan sauce that is simply without rival. But after the whipped cream idea, I was still feeling inventive, and I thought, what if we combined all of these dishes into one? Tortellini and udon bone broth soup with demi-glace, chives, Parmesan chili oil, nutmeg, lemon zest, and savory dill whipped cream. And I gotta say,
You can't say he doesn't go all the way for these videos. He's made so many different dishes. This must have taken so long to make one video.
I didn't hate it. After 1 or 2 bites, I thought I was onto something, but then I tried tortellini, udon, and whipped cream in 1 bite and kind of broke my brain a little bit. Experimentation is fun and all, but I don't know, let's keep this to the classics. I am not stoned enough for this. I'm just high on coffee. Speaking of which, this episode...
Alright, that's all he's got for this video. So that's all I have for this video as well. I'm excited to watch Andor. I'll be watching that pretty soon. And I'll have a review out on a Sunday once I've watched all 6. Because I think there's 6 episodes of that. But this was the Bone Broth from the Mandalorian on Binging with Babish. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.